Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything movies, TV, comics, and entertainment. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome to an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast. What is happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He's the co-host. He's the statistician to the stars. His name is Padawan J.
Let me talk to you.
Oh, man, do we have a lot to talk about, land of movies, TV, comics, and more. You are tuned in to the entertainment edition of the ODPH. And we definitely like to keep those conversations rolling after the show. So, Pat, where does everybody go?
ODPHpodcast.com.
Right on. Swing on over to the website. Sign up on all the social media accounts. Everything's still up and running and working, and we're not banned anywhere yet.
For now.
Fingers crossed. Also, check out the TeePublic store link. Like we mentioned, hats are on the way. So if you want to get a hat for the summertime of the ODPH logos, boom, there it is. So keep an eye out for that. That's supposed to be rolling out if it's not rolled out already by this weekend. Much like the wrestling business, cards subject to change. But that's why we say you have to go to the website to go check it out, and the link is right there. Also, while you're there, check out the Patreon link. Shout out to all our amazing patrons. They have a whole page up on the site, too, by the way. One tier, $2 a month. They got a bonus episode early before everybody else this week.
Heyo.
And it's one that's blowing up right now. So if you want to go check through the archives, you might be able to find it. But they've had it for a week now, so they've been on top of everything. And who knows what else they're going to be getting, because that's just what we do here with the Patreon. Like one tier, $2 a month. Boom, there it is. Check out the blog section of the website as well. Reviews are dropping left and right. The classifieds, which has friends of the show, such as Nerd Initiative, Dragon Master Games, 3FN Podcast doing Batman 89 this week.
Hey.
Great episode if you haven't checked it out yet.
Good movie, too.
You need to sign up for it. Yeah, it does okay. It's all right. It's fair. It's adequate. It's substantial. I'm kidding.
People
folks.
still remember it nowadays for some reason.
Yes. But
who knows?
But if you want more definition about it, that's why you go check out 3FN. They're talking about it all on their episode this week. It's a great movie, folks. If you haven't seen it, you definitely need to do the deep dive. And you do that absolutely by checking out the directory, because we have links for 3FN there, but we also have links for us because, Pat, how many providers are we on?
We are on 662,052.
See, folks, that is why he is the statistician to the stars. I don't even keep track of that, but we have all our pod links up there, so if you want to subscribe right from your desktop, your phones, however you listen to the ODPH, you can do it right there. Boom, drop your reviews there. It definitely helps the algorithm of the show out as well. Last but certainly not least, the music section of the show, where you can hear such bands as Brian Wolf and the Howlers. Tom Jolu, I have to mention this. Tom is going on tour.
Hey.
This just broke on Facebook, so he is going to be traveling up and down the East Coast.
Nice.
So this weekend, as we're recording, he's allegedly going to be down in New York City.
Hey,
so
even better.
If you're in the metropolitan area, you definitely want to go check Tom out live. Tell him the ODPH sent you. He'll say thank you. And definitely go buy some merch and go buy some stuff from him as well. But yeah, he is going to be on tour, I think, for like a couple months in the summer here.
Nice. It's a good time to do it.
Super happy for him, because Tom does an amazing live show. If you haven't seen him live, you're truly missing out. But can't forget to say about Second Suitor, shout out the Robots Floodlands. Basically, if it's anything and everything, it is the ODPH. You can find it at ODPHpodcast.com. And always remember to use the hashtag on social media if you're using them, ODPHpod. Kicking off this edition of the show, a series so nice, they showed 2 episodes twice.
Yeah.
This has been one of the most anticipated shows in recent memory.
Mm-hmm.
June is a stacked month of programming.
Really is.
So we are going to be having very long episodes of the Entertainment Edition, rest assured. But it really kicks off with the latest entry into the Disney Plus / Star Wars live action universe.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one that, to my knowledge, Pat, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you are the Star Wars aficionado of not only here, but Nerd Initiative. Is this the first time that we've delved into the High Republic on live action?
In live action and in any form of like cartoon or live action, yes. The High Republic stuff does stretch back to 2021, where they started some books and some comics, adult novels, young adult novels, kids' books, and whatnot. So it's been going for a couple of years now. But yeah, in terms of live action, something on a screen, yes.
And for anybody that's not familiar with the High Republic era of Star Wars, how do you describe it?
So the High Republic portion is an era of Star Wars. Yes, Star Wars was doing eras before Taylor Swift. But it is a period of time in the Star Wars universe. Now, the Star Wars universe does their timelines with before the Battle of Yavin. Battle of Yavin's kind of like their center point, their 0 year, I guess you could say. And everything after increases. So this was a time period that lasted from 500 years to 100 years before the Battle of Yavin. Just for reference point, the events from Phantom Menace take place 21 years before the Battle of Yavin. So the only person we are potentially, I haven't heard anything, I haven't seen anything, but there's no Anakin Skywalker, there's no Obi-Wan Kenobi, there's no Mace Windu, there's no Ayla Secura, there's no, anything. The only potential character we could see, and that's because we've seen him in some of the comics that have been coming out set in this era, is Yoda. Because as we know from the films released back in the late 70s, early 80s, was when by the time Yoda died, he was almost 900 years old. So at the time of the comics that have been coming out, he's about 300 years old. So and this show takes place 100 years before the events of the Phantom Menace. So he's about 400 years old at this time period. So that is potentially the only connection to the films we have with this show.
And this is very wide open territory.
Yeah, it is. We've seen some stuff now in the new canon stuff. There's been some books set in the prequels. There's been plenty of books set in between, the original trilogy and then the sequel trilogy. Nothing really after sequel trilogy, but in terms of before the prequels, there's been a couple of books that it's about Dooku in the time up to when he left the Jedi Order, but that's not super far in the past before the films. This is the furthest back thus far we've been in the Star Wars timeline.
Mm-hmm. So there has been much anticipation from the Star Wars community about this.
Yeah.
Pop culture has been waiting for this because obviously with The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Andor, Ahsoka, the list goes on and on.
It's a lot of shows.
There's been a lot of great live-action Star Wars happening in between the movies. The Acolyte is this whole different period. So this is almost a wide-open playbook. Nobody really knows what to expect. And that is where fans really have dived in. The past 2 episodes, like we said, premiered. And we have to recap them. So if you're new to the ODPH, first and foremost, thank you for checking us out. Drop a review on your favorite podcatcher. What we like to do is give a spoiler-free statement of what we're going to be talking about. And for this episode, to break it up, episode 1 is going to be one segment. Episode 2 will be another segment.
Yep.
We give spoiler-free statements before we get into a deep dive. We give you a countdown. Now, if you haven't seen the episodes for whatever reason, we tell you right there in the liner notes of the show, we give you the countdown. You need to jump out, pause, watch the shows, and then come back in because we don't hold anything back when it comes to spoilers. We give speculation, we give theories, we give everything that we have about it. So if you don't want to have it ruined for whatever reason yet, that is the time to duck out, put pause, catch up, and then jump back in the conversation, and then take it to social media with us after. That's how this works. So that being said, Pad, why don't you give me your spoiler-free statement about episode 1 entitled Lost and Found?
Well, first, a little PSA. There's been a lot of conversation online about this and a lot of divisive opinions about this, I guess you could say. And to that, I would say, listen, if you like the show, that's good. If you don't like the show, that's good too. Hey, not everything is for everyone. I personally am not the biggest fan of Andor. I am not the biggest fan of that, but you won't hear me be a prick about it and really call anybody out on it. So if you're one of these people being, toxic and hate spewing, how much of a shit show this is and you should feel bad if you're watching this and why are you giving this the time of day, spend your energy better elsewhere. Let people watch what they want to watch. Let people enjoy what they want to enjoy. And if you don't enjoy it, simple, don't watch. But in terms of my opinion and how I felt about the show, I felt it was a good start. It's kind of an interesting point for them to be in because every other thing they've done thus far, be it live action, animated, what have you, there's always been we kind of have an idea where this is going to go. They just got to set a few things up. It's arguably a situation with the franchise we haven't been since the original film in 1977. And after that, because you had that play out with its 3 films, and then they announced the prequel series, and it's like, okay, well, we know this takes place before the original film, so we know what potentially could happen to a couple key characters, so we got to kind of get there, and then they had the sequel trilogy come out, and that was kind of a little bit wide open, but then when they announced Ahsoka, it's like, okay, well, potentially wide open, potentially not. You do Clone Wars, okay, couple characters we don't know the issue of, or we don't know the end result of, but characters like Mace Windu, Yoda, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Count Dooku, Palpatine. Not exactly a secret at that point what was going to happen to them. Revenge of the Sith came out 2005. Clone Wars came out 2008 after the movies. But this is wide open in that we don't know who any of these people are. We don't know what's going to happen to them because, as has been established, this is 100 plus years before the events of the films. So, like I said, potentially the only person we're going to see show up in this is Yoda, which, again, if he shows up and he gets into a battle, we know he's going to make it out of there. But for everybody else, it's kind of a wide open playbook that they're not behooven to, like, okay, you can include all of these, I'll call them legacy characters, like when we saw Luke Skywalker show up in The Mandalorian and Ahsoka, or you had the Rebels characters show up in the Ahsoka series, or anybody from, in Andor or any of the other series that been like, okay, or even the Owen and Beru in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Like, okay, somebody from the Galactic Empire can show up at their doorstep and threaten to steal the child, threaten to kidnap Luke Skywalker. We know Luke's going to end up back there and nothing's going to happen to Owen and Aunt Beru yet, But with this, it's such a wide open playbook, and it was a good start. It wasn't like a smash hit home run out of the park. Oh my God, this is the greatest, episode in television history, and this is the greatest thing since Star Wars has ever done. But it was still very good. It was a good first step. It was a good establishing point because it's a world and portions that you're familiar with, but it's a different time period. It's a different thought process. It's a different mode of operation. Things aren't the same in this period as we find them later in the films. Yes, there are some similarities, and yes, there are still some stupid mistakes they're making. But still, it's a wide open playbook, and I thought it was good.
Let me just say this. I fully back up Pad's statement about the toxicity.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing it, this might not be your podcast.
Yeah.
So we'll just give you that first and foremost.
It's also a lot to jump into because, like I said, it's a totally different time period in Star Wars. It's a totally different era. It's this and that. This whole High Republic thing, like I said, has been going on now for over 3 years in books, and that's young adult, and kids books. And I think there's even been at least one of those like cross-section books as well. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But then you also factor in there's been Disney comics and Dark Horse comics and IDW comics and Marvel comics for the last 3 years. It's a lot to jump into, but still, as somebody who has not read everything but read enough, it does a very good job of like, okay, we're going to dip our toe in. We're not going to go full-fledged. But for some, it might be a little much.
It might be much, but I mean, here's the thing about it. This is a brand new world. It is going to start slow. And it does. This episode does start very slow because you're learning. This happens with every brand new universe, every time period you go into. This is something to expect. The issue is when people are taking it a bit too far. But the problem that you have is Star Wars is one of the biggest fandoms in the world. The pop culture audience doesn't dive into everything unless it's a movie.
Yeah.
There will be conflicting interest about it. So the best thing we can give you the advice for is don't be toxic about it. Learn it or avoid it.
Give it time.
Or do what you got to do. But to go after people about it, GFY. That's why we'll kind of leave it with that. As for the episode, thought the episode was solid.
Yeah.
I thought there's a lot of world building. There's a couple characters that we're still getting a sense about.
Sure.
And we have to take that in mind when we go into these episodes. Because not everything is as clear as they want us to think it is.
Which is good.
Yeah, because the writers about this, they're really stressing about keeping a strong sense of mystery about what the real tell is here. And we have to keep that in mind as we progress through this. But what I thought we had was a solid introduction. It's not one that's going to absolutely blow your mind per se.
Yeah.
But this is the introduction into a different period of Star Wars. So if you want something different, you'll really enjoy this. If you didn't, this might not be for you, but that's your call to make. But as I say, with a series that is limited, this is only going 8 episodes.
Yep.
To give the big 2, I thought the first episode that we're going to be discussing here, I thought did a solid job.
Yeah.
Solid is probably the easiest way I could describe it, because it wasn't lights out, but it wasn't exactly like we need to pay the electric bill. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. I mean, it was a solid, and like you said, it had to establish a lot. This isn't set in the time after the Rise of Skywalker, where we know, okay, the first order is gone, evil has been defeated, so now we know what's going to happen. You know, Rey is going to build up the Jedi Order, and we're going to get the New Republic trying to reform itself, or whatever they decide to call themselves. No, it's not this. It's not set between, or after, I should say, the original trilogy. It's like, oh, hey, it's the rebels forming a government and trying to fight the remnants of the Galactic Empire, and really just trying to get crap together in a time of real uncertainty. No, it's not that, because that's already established. Like, okay, we know where they have to get to. It's not between the prequels and the original trilogy, because, hey, in that case, we know, okay, well, we know that, certain forces and certain things have to get in a certain place, but we know what to expect, and it's not set before the prequels, because, again, we know where it would have to go. This is so far in the past, it's a wide open playbook.
Mm-hmm. So that said, let's get into a little bit of spoiler talk about episode 1. So in 3, 2, 1, Pad, your thoughts?
Like I said, I thought it was a good episode. It was a solid start. It was a solid beginning. Not the greatest episode in television history, but one that when you're setting up a new world and a new time period, that as of yet, the only time they've even mentioned anything in this from this era was in this Jedi Survivor video game. There's a couple characters from that time period, but they don't delve too deep into what's going on at that time. It's kind of like a self-contained thing.
Yeah.
But when you're establishing this totally new era that for the majority of Star Wars fans aren't familiar with, didn't know was a thing until they announced this show, you got to kind of hold their hand a little bit, and you got to kind of keep it slow and keep it simple to a certain degree. And I felt that's what that did. It kind of introduced us to some core characters and some core ideas and storylines of what's going to go on, and it's building off of that. And I thought it was fun.
Yeah, it was, like we said, I sound like a broken record, but it was solid.
Yeah.
It was what it needed to do, because we have to keep in mind we had the traditional Star Wars crawl.
Which I liked.
Yeah. Well,
which was nice.
Yeah, which, to sum up, they established this is 100 years before the rise of the Empire. The Republic and the Jedi Order are at this weird peace moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then we start off in the planet Udua. And we do see there's a mysterious figure walking around looking for somebody. And this mysterious figure is played by Amandla Stenberg. And we see that she is hunting somebody. And it turns out to be a familiar face to a lot of moviegoers.
Yeah.
And that is who, Pad?
Carrie-Anne Moss, better known as Trinity from the Matrix movies. But in this instance, she's playing Jedi Master Indara.
Yeah. So there is this weird encounter where you're seeing the mysterious figure challenge Indara.
She basically walks up to Indara and is like, "Fight me."
Yeah.
And Indara's like, "That's not what we do." And she's like, "Well, it is when this happens." And she starts a full-blown bar fight.
Mm-hmm. And we do see that she is identified as Osha Insea.
I believe so, yeah.
And we see that they have this great back and forth, but Osha winds up killing Indara, which is a little bit of a shock, which sends, all types of hysteria throughout the Jedi Council.
Yep.
And when this starts getting back to the powers that be that are in charge of the Jedi at this time, this is definitely catching the wind of one Jedi in particular. And that is Sol, who's played by Li Zhongjai. And Pat, how would you describe his reaction to what's going on?
Shocked. He was her master, taught her until something happened. They kind of allude to it, but they didn't go into full-blown details of what happened where Osha had to leave the Jedi Order. But he's shocked, and especially that it's, out of the blue, somebody he knew and had a close connection with, as a teacher to a student, to find out like, oh, hey, one of your former students turned and killed a master. He's like, that doesn't sound like her.
So that does prove to be a little bit of a conflict. So with Sol now involved, that is definitely drawing some attention. And he sets out to go find Osha, who is now working on a ship, basically as a repair person.
Repair crew, yeah. Like, there's some law in the galaxy or whatever that like only droids can go outside on the ship and repair ships in outer space. Something probably happened. Who knows? It's not real important. But yeah, OSHA is a part of this, and you got a couple Jedi that show up. One she knew, a Jedi Knight, Yord Fandar, I think is how you say the name, and his Padawan, Tassie Loa, I believe is how you say it. They're looking for her, and they're like, hey, we know you got a Jedi here, or we know you got a person here, we're looking for him. And they eventually confront her, OSHA, and they're like, hey, listen, you're wanted because you killed Jedi Master Indara.
Yeah.
And she looks at that like, what are you talking about? I know I didn't kill her. Well, there were reports you were on the planet and on Ueda and killed her. Where were you? She goes, I was right here sleeping.
Yeah.
Like this wasn't me.
Yeah. So this is where the mystery starts building up because the Jedi enforce their unlawful will and decide to take the law in their own hands.
I mean, they arrest her.
Unlike the Empire that does nothing wrong. And yeah,
Alderaan would like to have a conversation with you.
Tomatoes. It's all produce. But we do see the Jedi's take Osha away.
Mm-hmm. They want to bring her back to Coruscant for questioning.
Yes. So when they're en route, though, obviously things are going a little bit wrong.
Yeah, they're on a ship entirely piloted by droids.
Yes, which, I mean, this is never good.
That's an oversight I just couldn't wrap my head around.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I was going to say, that was very, very odd.
And a ship that size that is presumably built to hold a substantial number of prisoners, why would you leave it with just with a couple of droids?
The Jedis make mistakes all the time.
I don't know if that's the Jedi or that's maybe the Republic. See, because it seemed because I don't think the Jedi would have something like that. I think it was just like they were working in conjunction with the Republic.
See, I don't know, because usually in this time period, I just say leading up to the Jedi's, the responsibility for like everything that goes wrong in the Star Wars universe is all the Jedi's.
Oh, for a point, yeah, not so much back here.
Yeah. But we do see that Osha is having flashbacks or visions of a past time period, and when fire is involved, this is drawing back about her family who was killed in a fire when she was young.
Yep.
But this is also teasing about a sister named May, a twin sister.
Yep.
But she's woken up out of the dream when the prisoners on the ship are basically planning an escape. And there's no honor amongst thieves here, because we do see that they do make their move, taking out a couple of droids, ripping the arm off of one to get out of the cell. That was a very smart play to make.
That was cool.
And they're all making a run to the escape pods, and she's like, well, they asked her if she was going to come with, and there was a little bit of hesitation.
She never committed.
Yeah, she never committed.
So she was griping they wouldn't take her with her. Hey, listen, they gave you an offer.
Yeah. So we do see that they wind up escaping.
For now.
And she is stuck on the ship, which is spiraling out of control because they took out the droid pilots. She winds up crashing on the planet Karlak. And while she is here, this is where the Jedis are really enhancing their search. Because this is where Sol is sent by Jedi Master Vernestra Rope to go get his former student.
Because in between the time of the ship Osha's on crashing and when Master Sol goes after Osha, there's a report that gets sent back, probably a distress beacon of some sort, that says, hey, the ship she was on ended up crashing. And it's funny, they ended up picking up the prisoners that went in the escape pod, because, spoiler alert, in the Star Wars universe, when you go into an escape pod, all it's usually about good for is either hanging out in space until somebody comes to collect you, be they good or evil, or all it'll do, if you're close enough to a planet, is you can navigate to the nearest planet or moon. It's not exactly meant to go great distances, so they didn't really think they're playing all the way through. But so, yeah, the report comes in that they found all these, that the ship crashed, and they picked up these prisoners. And it's funny, if you listen in the background, they're all blaming her. They're all blaming Osha. They're like, no, this wasn't our idea. This wasn't our plan. It was all the Jedi Killer's plan. It was her plan. It was her idea from the start.
Yeah.
And they go questioning the one, and they figure out, okay, yeah, she was on there. They go after her, and it's a small team, because that's all they can afford at this point.
So Sol is on the pursuit with his current protege or Padawan, Jackie Lon, who is very familiar to comic movie fans because that is Daphne Keene.
Oh, yeah.
Who we know as who, Pad? Laura Kenny.
Yes.
From Logan. So it was very cool seeing her.
X-23 is in Star Wars.
Yep. It's all connected, folks. It's all under the Disney Marvel banner.
Yes.
I digress. We go, though, to the planet, and this is where on Karlach, Osha is bringing up the idea that May, her twin sister, is actually alive.
Right, because we do find out a little bit of backstory, and that's Sol is the one who found and brought Osha to the Jedi Order because he was stationed on the planet Osha was from and was there the day the accident happened that killed her entire family. And he brings up that she had a twin sister, and everyone in the room, including Jedi Knight Yord Fandar, who we find out earlier in the episode is at least friendly with Osha. They know each other.
Yeah.
How much of a repertoire and a history they have, we don't know. We just know they know each other to be friends. He's like, wait a minute, she had a twin sister. That's not in her report. So something was, deliberately left out of the report of what happened for some reason. And everyone's kind of shocked. And it's brought up by, I forget who it might've been, Jackie Lon, the Padawan of Sol. Like, is it possible May's still alive? And he goes, no, it's not possible.
Yeah. But we do see that this is the case, even when they have the odd, if you've ever seen the Harrison Ford version of The Fugitive, tell me that was not the same sequence with Osha on the edge of the cliff.
Yeah.
And Sol was saying about, come in, we'll talk to you. And she's like, no, I'm innocent.
Yeah.
And that's where she fell off. Like, I got Fugitive vibes.
Yeah, that was definitely inspired.
Yeah. But we do see that Sol does save her. And he does believe the theory. It is plausible that maybe May is alive.
Because at this point, it's the only thing that would make sense.
Yeah. So they wind up taking her in and try making some sense of all of this. Meanwhile, we do see that, yes, May is 100% alive.
Because I was thinking at first, until it was confirmed she was alive, that maybe it's like a changeling, like we see from Attack of the Clones. Or maybe it's just like some sort of hallucination.
See, I thought it was split personalities.
Yeah, that could be.
That's what I thought it was, because I thought that'd be a really cool dynamic.
Yeah.
That she doesn't know what she's doing.
I thought it was like a changeling assassin type thing, because I was like, that we've seen that. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Or it's just all a hallucination.
No, but
like some sort of Sith sorcery.
Right. But we do find out, though, May obviously is part of the dark side.
She's in the camp.
Yes.
I don't know if she's fully in yet, but she's in the entryway.
No, but she is walking in a secluded area. And she's talking to what appears to be her new mentor. And we do see that he is challenging her, testing the skills. And this may sound like some deadly game that they're playing.
That's the way the Sith operate.
Right. So we do see that he throws down the gauntlet and says, all right, your next mission is to kill a Jedi, but you can't use a weapon.
I mean, because that's the thing the Sith are. They're subtle, they're manipulative, there's a lot of subterfuge involved. There's a very good reason they go like 1,000 years or whatever it is from the time they kind of like disappear to reappearing with Sidious.
Yeah,
that they're hidden the entire time. Sure, they might have popped up from here to there, but notice by the time Phantom Menace rolls around in 100 years from now, Yoda and Mace Windu are like, wait, what do you mean there's a Sith Lord? Like Mace, I think, even has the line in Phantom Menace, that's impossible. The Sith were wiped out a millennia ago. Yeah.
So that's how it wraps up. So, Pat, I mean, overall thoughts on this first episode since we did the dive?
Good first episode. It's a good introduction. It doesn't go super crazy into some of the previous stuff with the High Republic, in terms of the books or the comics. Some of that might get tied in later. It might not. It's kind of, at this point, it's about 100 years after the latest stuff they've done in that, so whether that'll turn up or not is fine. It's a good first dive into the world that if you've been thinking about reading the books or checking out any of the comics, this I think is a good way to kind of test your appetite and see, am I going to like this? Am I not? And if you do like it, if you do want to see more of this, it's definitely a good entryway into this era of Star Wars.
Yeah, this was a really solid entryway into. Like I say, solid is the easiest way I can describe this. But we have to remember this in context. they're trying to do the slow burn build.
Yep.
And I think what helps and hurts with this episode is there's a lot to introduce.
Uh-huh.
And I think that for getting a rough idea about where everybody is, they did a good job with it. It's not great.
No.
But there's room to grow. And it's just, unfortunately, they're up against being the pace car to lead the rest of the High Republic into this live action. There's just only so much you can do.
Right.
But I thought they established at least the key players enough. Like, fans know who Osha is, know who May is, know who Sol is, and everybody else is starting to get a little more screen time that you start getting an understanding about what their true intentions are.
Yeah.
They're keeping a lot of things close to the vest, though, because it's not so clear-cut about exact motives yet and why May is doing what she's doing. But we do get the sense of at least who's responsible and how this all shapes up, because this is all boiling back to the name of the show, The Acolyte, and you're seeing that an Acolyte is being challenged and being tested about their skills, and there's a heavy emphasis on this. So for where fans are, I could understand why fans were very vocal about it in a certain direction, but like we say quite often in any storyline, in any dramatic show, let it breathe. Yeah. Let it play out.
Yeah. Also, I would like to say, I think Jedi Master Sol and Qui-Gon Jinn would get along very well.
Yeah, I think so too. So that being said, hit us up on the hashtag ODPH Pod. Lost Found, episode 1 of The Acolyte from Star Wars and Disney Plus. Let's talk about it, but we're going to take a quick break and come back and talk about episode 2, Revenge and Justice, on this edition of the ODPH podcast.
Hey all, I'm Frank. Join me and my friends as we talk about all things geek. Here at Geek Freaks Podcast, we go over the weekly news of everything in geekdom, from movies to TV, video games, and comic books. We also have a growing YouTube community. Join us as we go over everything in your geek life and share in the love of geekdom.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, deep diving into the first 2 episodes of Star Wars The Acolyte, currently airing on Disney Plus. Last segment we talked about Lost Found. This one is entitled Revenge Justice. Same format as the last segment, so Pad, give me your spoiler-free statement about the second episode.
Better than the first episode. Not leaps and bounds better, but it was still better than the first episode. A lot of fun, a lot of intrigue. I like the way this one played out. The first one was kind of clunky, a little bit, start and stop, start and go, kind of thing. But this one flowed very nicely. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, this one they really felt like they had a solid footing. And I think that that's something that really helped this episode. We got a little more background about the characters we were looking for, and more of, a separation from the pack, so to speak. Like, we got a little more details to start deciding who we like and who we don't in this show, as far as characters, and really kind of understanding the overall plot. So, like I said, I thought it was a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Was it a full Hulk leap?
No.
But we're at least moving in the right direction. And plus, we're going in a faster pace than Endor. That is something I really want to stress with this.
Which I love.
Oh, yeah. No, we needed to move fast. They did, but it's not like super speed.
Yeah.
But it's also not as slow as Andor was to get going. So let's keep that in mind. So that being said, Pad, 3, 2, 1. Your thoughts?
Like I said, thought the episode was better than the first. It was a good improvement, and it was good pacing. It was fun. I like the mystery and intrigue they were doing with this one. And just the way it played out. Very interested to see where this goes, because I got a couple theories. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
Okay. Yeah, no, I thought this one was a lot better. And I really thought that we got more of a sense of what May was all about. And that's something you really need to establish, because if she is doing what she's doing, I think it was just, she's influenced by her Sith master, that I think that's a problem.
Yeah.
I think that's just a very generic stance. But if there seems to be more of a drive to her,
there seems to be a little bit of motivation.
Yeah, then I think that really helps. And I think we got a little bit of that here. Because where this episode jumps in, she is challenged to kill a Jedi without using any sort of weapon.
Little hard to do, all things considered. They got kind of that spidey sense going.
Yeah.
They got the ability to use the Force. Plus, there's that darned old lightsaber they use.
Mm-hmm.
Only one thing, potentially, if they decide to bring it into canon, I don't think they have yet, could stop it.
Right. So we do see that May goes to the planet Olega and confronts Jedi Master Torben, who is a very, very unique character.
Seems like a cop-out on her part.
You think?
I do, because she's challenged to kill a Jedi without using a weapon. Doesn't matter who it is. The only bigger cop-out of this is if she goes after a youngling. And I'm not talking Padawan. I'm talking below the rank of a Padawan, like a literal child. This seems like a cop-out, though, because this Jedi Master Torben is on the planet Olega, and it's well known, at least among a certain group of people, and presumably those on the planet, that he's been in a Force meditation for over a decade.
Yeah, this was kind of an interesting
So
choice.
the man's effectively half asleep. You know, he's conscious, but he's not, if that makes sense. And she's like, oh, I'm going to go after the guy who really can't fight back at me. Mm-hmm. Seems like a bit of a cop-out.
Well, I think what they're trying to do is just establish about the different Jedis at this time period.
Sure.
And I think what they were trying to do, and I'll admit, this did not connect with me. Mm-hmm. If there's one thing I got to, really complain about the episode.
Sure.
Is I thought Torben's story, I really didn't feel his character, like, motivations here. I just thought that it was like, okay, he feels, a true weight on his past.
Uh-huh.
And that's what's causing him to do what he does. Because when
I didn't get it until the end, and then we had the revelation, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, I was like, I get it, but I'm like, okay, this didn't click with me.
Sure.
And so, like I say, because we see that they're doing this, and like you touched upon, he's been meditating for decades.
For literally over a decade.
Yeah. So this is why his force is so strong.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where May has to kind of think outside the box, so to speak.
Yep.
She goes to acquire poison from Quimir.
Yeah, the other thing we find out while all this is going on is Osha gets exonerated from what's going on, because the whole mission up to this point was to bring Osha back to Coruscant.
Mm.
The crew then gets a message from Venestra that, hey, there was an incident on Olega with a person matching Osha's description. And Sol goes, well, that's not possible. She was with us the entire time. And Venestra basically goes, yeah, I know. So then Sol goes, well, do you want us to go investigate it or bring Osha back to Coruscant? And they go, no, go investigate it. She might be of use. Yeah. So Osha is exonerated in the case against Indara.
Yeah, no, I thought Venestra, who's played by Rebecca Henderson, is really doing a solid job. Like,
yeah.
This was where we really saw her finally take off.
Yeah.
In comparison to the two episodes. So when she's calling the shots about here, this is really pushing things forward. Mm-hmm. And like we said, May is working with Quimir, who has a little bit of an interesting story.
Works on an apothecary. It ain't no apothecary I've ever seen in movies or TV or video games.
Yeah, to say the least.
Holy hell.
And we see that, he winds up hooking her up with the poison that's needed to do the job.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just like a weird thing, too, because...
He goes about it a weird way, too.
Yeah, it's not exactly like...
Here, it's not like you would see in like an RPG video game where it's like, oh, I'll give you this, but I need you to do this side quest for me first. And it's not even like, oh, hey, I'll do it, but you need to get the ingredients for me too. He's like, no, let's sit down and have a lesson. Let's have a chat.
Yeah.
And all the meanwhile, he's going about doing something that we don't know what he's doing, and she never brings up like, oh, hey, you're making the thing. He goes about his discussion and has her little heart-to-heart with her, and then goes, oh, hey, by the way, here you go. And she's overzealous and ready to give it to me now, and he's like, hold on, puts the little cork on top and goes, here you go.
Yeah. And I know this was tying into basically her hit list to some degree.
She's got she's on the hunt for 4 Jedi that were on her and Osha's home planet at the time of the fire, and we find out they are Indara, Torben, a Jedi named Kalnaka, and Jedi Master Sol.
Yeah, so there's more to this hit list that we know about.
Mm-hmm.
And especially, too, with May being the Acolyte.
Yep.
there seems to be her mentor in this
Yep.
has to have some tie to this.
Oh, of course.
We just haven't figured.
of course.
We haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
But we do see that she goes back, and this is where, like I say, it's a weird conversation moment here where she connects with Torben about dealing with his past, and he
comes too.
yeah, and
Like it's even brought up that when Sol and his crew end up on the planet, they go to the gates of this Jedi Temple outpost, and they talk to presumably the folks that are in charge of the gates at this point, and all they've really got for him is like, hey, yeah, here's the kid who was caught deactivating the droid security at the door. He doesn't really give up much, and they go, yeah, we're gonna go talk to Torben, and they're like, why? He's been in a force meditation for a decade.
yeah. It's kind of an awkward setup, but this is where obviously they're investigating. They do have a confrontation with May, which happens after Osha is trying to get information from Quamir.
Yeah.
This is one that, like I say, he kind of tips off a little too much, but we do get a little action sequence going on here, and a big confrontation that, yeah, we have now put together one in one that May now knows of Osha's existence. Osha now knows of May's existence.
Yeah, because eventually during this confrontation, Sol confronts her and goes, hey, she basically, May wants to, she's like, you need to repay for what you did to my sister. And Sol's like, your sister's alive. Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, you're lying. And then, what is it? Yord shows up, or one of the other, somebody else from the crew force pulls her daggers away from her and goes, no, he's telling the truth. Your sister's alive.
Yeah.
And she doesn't believe it until the very end of this confrontation action sequence where Osha sees her from around a corner in an alleyway, whatever it is, and is pointing a blaster at her, set to stun, and sees her, and May probably senses her through the force, looks over to the side and goes, oh shit, they weren't lying.
Yeah. Like it's the realization moment for both of them.
Yeah.
And you even see Osha is scared to pull the trigger.
Well, she pulls it, but she misses by a county mile.
Right, because she can't focus, because she's now seeing her dead sister, and vice versa.
Yep.
So there is that awkward moment while everything is falling apart because of what May's actions have done. So May does sneak away.
Yep.
But then, she does go back to kind of tie up some loose ends, to say the least. Who did she go visit?
She goes and visits Quamir.
And this is where he kind of talks, like he's playing a lot of games here.
Yes.
Like we have to remember this.
Yes.
That Manny Jacinto, or Jacinto, apologize for messing the name up, really did a great job.
He did.
Like, really flipping the character and really kind of pushing, where it almost seems like he might be the Sith behind the scenes.
That's my theory.
I would believe it too.
Because he handled himself very well in the fight.
Yes.
A little too well.
Yeah, that's what I say. Like when
he handled himself well enough to like, oh, I've got some basic survival skills and I can handle myself in a fight. But it seemed like he was holding back a little bit.
Yeah, that's why I say, like, he really was holding a lot in. But he's the one that talks May into say, basically, you need, to leave me here because, well, I have information for you. Because I know that another name on your list is on the planet Kofar. And that's how it wraps up.
Yeah, and we do see that Jedi on Kofar. It's a Wookiee Jedi.
Love
it.
Yes. One of the best moments of the show. And that's how they ended.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Pad, thoughts on this one?
A lot better than the first one. I'm not saying the first one was bad, but just it was a good intro. This one better. Good jumping off point for once they got everything introduced and they decided to really get the action going. A lot of fun. Very interested to see where they go. And who knows if this gets a second season or one is planned already. They just haven't announced it yet. We may not get the revelation of who the master or /mentor is. That could be left as a cliffhanger. Like a final episode of the season, they're going to pull the mask off and cut to black.
Yeah, I thought there was a lot more to enjoy about this. Like I say, steps in the right direction.
Yeah.
Not full home runs, but I would say a double at the bare minimum. Jacinto's Quamir really stole this episode. I really thought it had a strong performance, really set things up in the right direction. We got a little more understanding about May. However, the big reveal about the twin sisters seeing each other for the first time, how that plays out moving forward is going to be very interesting because of how it's set up as May's whole mission is to get revenge for the loss of her family on the Jedi hit list. but now she sees that somebody's there.
Yep.
How does that play out? And I think for the Jedi team that's involved, I still have this odd feeling that Soul might be behind all of this. Because it just seems to me that if May is that hardcore about attacking everybody,
Sure.
Soul has a vested interest in this.
A little bit. Yeah.
And it just seems like maybe he was responsible for the fire that happened.
That's the thing is, like, a fire happened. We don't know too much about it. I would imagine we're going to get like an entire episode that's a flashback explanation of what the hell happened.
Oh, yeah, I think we'll get that about episode 7.
Because something clearly happened that motivated May enough that she wants to go after and kill 4 Jedis, and she was willing to throw in her lot with the Sith or dark side to do it. I mean, because it's not out of the realm of possibility to just hire a bounty hunter to do it. Boba Fett famously did it. You know, Cad Bane, if you paid him enough, he'd have done it.
Yeah.
You know, he when he wanted to break into, or when Sidious wanted him to break into the Jedi Temple, he did it. It was a lot of money, but he did it.
Yeah.
You know, bounty hunters do have their price. So very interesting that she went that route about it.
So like I say, I think there's a lot going on with Soul's character that we just don't know about. It's possible he could be the Jedi Master.
Could be.
Because obviously we know that something happened with Osha left, and maybe this is something with his guilt that he's now driving the dark side.
Could be.
There's a lot of open-end ideas that we have, but after 2 episodes, though, steps in the right direction. They're doing the slow burn. It's not, something is killing the children-esque, which is the best slow burn in all of when it comes to Netflix. Trust me, you'll get your payoff there. But like I always say in comics, like that's where I refer to everything as.
Yeah.
But as far as like any other TV shows we've seen, I think that they are really pacing this out nicely for where we need to go.
Yeah.
Because with only 6 more episodes left, and now we're going to be 1 a week from here on out.
Yep.
There's going to be a lot that we're going to need to really kind of pay attention to. And I think that they've established enough of the ground rules that we know, okay, we're rooting for Osha.
Yep.
Something's conflicting with May.
Yep.
Soul is up in the air. And then that mystery figure that's looming in the background. So how this is all going to play out, I don't know. But I know that, as you alluded to, we have a Wookiee Jedi.
We do have a Wookiee Jedi. Canon Wookiee Jedi.
Yes.
Well, no, there was one before. There was the one in Clone Wars.
Right.
I almost forgot about him.
But I expect that next week's episode will be one that fans will definitely have a lot to talk about.
Peter Mayhew somewhere would be smiling were he still with us.
Yes, indeed. Rest in peace. So that being said, hit us up on the hashtag ODPH pod. What is your thoughts about the Acolyte episode 2 entitled Revenge/Justice? And let's talk about both episodes too as well. We got the 72-hour social media embargo, but as soon as that's lifted, we can go deep dive as we need to. In the meantime, we can do definitely spoiler-free talk about it until then because we don't want to ruin it for anybody. But I definitely want to talk to you, the ODPH Society, about this. Let me know your initial thoughts after the weekend too, like where it's really sunk in. You've got a chance to watch it a couple times if you want to, and then we can really start deep diving in about this. That all said, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder, and you better listen to the ODPH podcast, or I'm coming for you, and Batman is coming for you.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pad, what you got?
Got a couple things to talk about. First of which came completely out of left field, to say the least. This one came about 2-3 days ago, reading from an article on Variety.com, and we are going to be getting a live-action adaptation of the hit Sega video game, Yakuza.
Really?
Yeah. Well, Like a Dragon Yakuza is coming to Amazon Prime. Reading from the article, it says, quote, streaming giant Prime Video will release Like a Dragon, a live-action series adaptation of the Sega game franchise Yakuza Like a Dragon. The 6-part crime suspense action series is directed by Take Mashaharu and Takimoto Kengo, and stars Taguchi Ryoma as the lead character Kiryu Kazuma. It will upload to Prime Video in 2 batches of 3 episodes on October 25th and November 1st, with subtitled and dubbed versions in 30 languages. The series' story is set in 2 time periods, 1995 and 2005, and follows the life, childhood friends, and repercussions of the decisions of a fearsome and peerless Yakuza warrior with a strong sense of justice, duty, and humanity. The screenplay and story are by Sean Crouch and Nakamura Yugo, with the Japanese screenplay by Yoshida Yasuhiro and Yamada Kana. Released in 2005 by Sega, the Yakuza game series was positioned as an entertaining game for adults and found massive fanfare among its target audience. The series, like a Dragon Yakuza, depicts the life of fierce yet passionate gangsters and people living in a huge entertainment district, Kamurocho, a fictional district modeled after the violent Shinjuku wards Kabukicho that acts as the backdrop of the gameplay. The series showcases modern and dramatic stories showcases modern Japan and the dramatic stories of these intense characters, such as the legendary Kazuma Kiryu that games in the past have not been able to explore, Prime Video said. Close quote. The article goes on to say from the series director, quote, "I have poured out my heart, soul, and experience that I have garnered over 35 years into Like a Dragon Yakuza." Then you have James Farrell, the head of the international originals for Amazon MGM Studios, said, quote, "The unfettered appeal for Japanese content from within Japan and other parts of the world has been growing exponentially. While Prime Video Japan continues to offer a variety of content across genres, adapting an internationally popular game franchise that has such deep resonance and layered characters presents a unique charm and makes for an extremely compelling watch." Close quote. I am very excited for this. I got into the Yakuza franchise a little late. I picked up a bundle on the PlayStation Store a couple of years ago. They did a bundle for Yakuza 0, Yakuza Kiwami, and then Yakuza Kiwami 2. Played through 0 and Kiwami. I'm in partway into Kiwami 2. The games are fantastic and awesome. If they don't have an entire episode devoted to Mahjong, RC racers, and crane games, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
No pressure to whoever gets cast as Majima. If you played the series, you know that man is the most outlandish and hilarious character in video game history. I will not be told otherwise. But this is very interesting. This is a series that I'll admit, I thought about, what if they tried a movie? A movie would never work. What about a series? I'm like, a series might work, but I never seriously considered it. So I'm interested to see this and check this out when it drops.
Yeah, this is one that when you showed this like a little bit earlier, like this I didn't really pick up on, like put one and one together.
Yeah.
That is very, very interesting.
Could be good.
I mean, Amazon has been killing it right now with the, or I should say unaliving, with the video game adaptation.
Yeah,
so
Netflix.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So there is an audience for it that we're seeing. So
yeah,
we have to wait and see.
Speaking of Netflix, they dropped something out of the blue this week. If you're looking for something to watch and you hadn't seen it yet, much like myself, that is Godzilla -1.
Ooh,
Godzilla,
you need to see that.
Godzilla -1 hit premium video on demand and Netflix at the same time. So if you need something to watch this weekend and you're not necessarily into Star Wars, you're not necessarily into Bridgerton, you're waiting for Suits season 9 to drop on Netflix, you need something to watch. And you're avoiding Madam Web because hey, I'm not watching that.
Yeah.
Reasons. Godzilla -1 is available on Netflix. Most areas and territories. I know there's still a couple random ones that for whatever reason it's not there yet, but most of the major ones it is there.
Yeah, this is a great movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It's pure cinema.
Yeah. Then got to go over a couple things that were announced from the PlayStation State of Play that took place last week. I was kind of looking forward to this because they haven't done one of these in a little bit, and there was a little bit of hype around it. Are they going to announce something new with the Horizon franchise? Horizon Forbidden West was the last one. They had the Burning Shores DLC. I know they've got something with Lego coming down the pike. Are they going to announce something with Gran Turismo? What are they going to do? What are they going to announce? A couple of interesting things. First of which, if you are on PC, you will be able to play God of War Ragnarok. That is the second game in the reboot continuation franchise with God of War. that came out in 2022 for PlayStation. It will arrive on PC on September 19th.
Okay.
The PC version, reading from an article on IGN.com, it will include the Valhalla DLC and will also feature PC-centric features such as support for ultra-wide monitors, unlocked frame rates, and super sampling text like DLSS and FSR. And then the PlayStation blog did reveal that players must have a PlayStation Network account to play the PC version of God of War Ragnarok. So that's a little polarizing given what happened with Helldivers 2.
Yeah.
If you know, you know. But super interested to see what happens with this just because I still have to play the game myself because I only recently just got a PlayStation 5. But also, PC means mods.
Yes.
So could we potentially see Kratos fighting Thomas the Tank Engine? Oh, abso-goddamn-lutely. But what this means for the other wild and crazy mods, I'm excited to see. So mod community, you have your challenge.
Yes.
They also announced the next Dynasty Warriors game that is titled Dynasty Warriors Origins. Reading from the article on IGN, it says Omega Force hack and slash video game series Dynasty Warriors is back, as the developer and its publisher Koei Tecmo announced Dynasty Warriors Origin, which is coming out sometime next year. In a PlayStation blog post, Dynasty Warriors Origin producer Tomijiko Sho revealed that Origins will depict the chaos of the Three Kingdoms for the first time in the Dynasty Warriors franchise, with players taking control of a nameless hero. More interestingly, Sho revealed that Omega Force is leveraging the PS5 technology to create an all-new Warriors-like battlefield that will provide massive armies as far as the eye can see. Now, admittedly, I've not played a ton of Dynasty Warriors games. I did play a little bit of the Dynasty Warriors Gundam game. That was nuts in and of itself. So if they can make battle armies as far as the eye can see, that's going to be fucking batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Going on a little bit more, a couple other things were announced. We did find out that the developers behind The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners VR game is working on something new. It is, reading from the article, it says, the set in the Forsaken Lands, which is described as a once great civilization that is now just a barren wasteland. Players will endure both the cold and hostile enemies as they uncover the dark secrets hidden there. The official website for Behemoth, which is the studio that developed it, reveals that the game will be released sometime in October for PSVR 2 in addition to MetaQuest and Steam VR. Also, if you like your horror games and you like shit in your pants, there's an Alien
Wow.
there's an Alien game coming out for PSVR 2. Alien Rogue Incursion is coming out this holiday for PSVR 2. Article reads, a new game set in the Alien franchise is coming. Alien Rogue Incursion is the next game based on this iconic horror franchise. Developed by well-known VR developer Survivos, Alien Rogue Inclusion is a VR game powered by Unreal Engine 5. In a PlayStation blog post, Survivor's chief product officer TQ Jefferson wrote that this upcoming horror game is a single-player action horror game with an all-new storyline. Players will control a yet-to-be-named protagonist who explores a facility overrun by xenomorphs on the inhospitable planet Purdon. Close quote. So, I mean, if this is anything like, I forget what, I think it was Alien Rogue Marine, or there was some Alien game where, like, you had your mic plugged in, and if you made any fucking noise, it would hear you, and it would come after you. So this, if it's anything like that in VR, good.
Yeah, that's going to be intense.
Good God. Then we found out that Marvel's Rivals, that is the Overwatch game Marvel is doing, is coming to PlayStation 5, and that it will be getting a closed beta set in July.
Okay.
No release date, but they did get another look at the game. And if you've played Overwatch, you know what Marvel's Rivals is going to look like. Then they announced, they showed off a new trailer for the Until Dawn remake, remaster, whatever the hell this thing is. Of course, it was announced back in January, and developer Ballistic Moon showed off a new trailer. Enhancements studios made with graphics, animations. No release date yet, but hey, that was definitely one of the more intriguing games on the PlayStation 4. Horror branching storyline, you played as multiple characters, and if one of those characters died, that absolutely affected the outcome, and there was no bringing that character back. I realize this is video games, and video games like to revive characters for reasons, but not in that franchise.
Yeah.
Then we got an update and a release date for the upcoming Silent Hill 2 remake. Konami revealed that the remake will be released on October 8th for PC and PS5. I'm reading from the article, quote, alongside a release date, Konami and Silent Hill 2 remake developer Blooper Team released a new trailer showing another look at the game, particularly more combat, including a scene where Silent Hill 2 protagonist James Sunderland is seen fighting the creepy, abstract daddy enemy towards the end. Alongside a release date, Silent Hill 2 Remake will likely appear at the upcoming Silent Hill Transmission, which is set to air after the state of play, so definitely check that out. And then lastly, certainly not leastly, I have not played the original game yet. I plan to. But we got a sequel coming to Astro's Playroom, and this is, I think it's called Astrobot. Astro's Playroom is this fun game that was included for free on every PlayStation 5 when you bought it. I still got to check it out. It looks like super fun. But they're coming out with a new one, and it is coming out September 6th, exclusively for the PS5. Also, with the PlayStation state of play going on, be sure to check out your game stores. You have PlayStation, Xbox, Steam. A lot of sales going on this time of year, summer sales, indie sales. So, hey, if you're looking to check something out, check out for some sales. You never know what you could find.
This is very true. It's a good time to go check out. Summertime, everybody's loading up.
Absolutely. And then lastly, certainly not leastly, we got some casting news for the third Knives Out film, which, boy, oh boy, the last one was good. The cast wasn't necessarily that would blow me out of the water. Like, holy shit, there's a lot of people in this. They might have heard my thoughts because they're loading this cast up.
We do have listeners in Hollywood, so
we do. But this film, which is going to be titled "Wake Up, Dead Man," is of course written and directed by Rian Johnson. Of course, Daniel Craig will be back to play Benoit Blanc. But we do know that the cast at this point is going to be joining Daniel Craig will be Kerry Washington, Glenn Close, Jeremy Renner, and then you've also got, going along with those folks, Josh Brolin, Mila Kunis, Josh O'Connor, Andrew Scott, Kaylee Spaney, Daryl McCormick, and then just announced today as we record, or yesterday, I should say, Thomas Hayden Church. This cast is loaded. Holy hell.
Yeah, I know. This cast is always growing names, and I think that... Yeah, it's turned into an all-star affair. So this is one of the franchises that really kind of jumped out there and really made some noise. So very excited to see what's going on with this.
And then lastly, certainly not leastly, some music news because, hey, this is entertainment and tied into a TV franchise near and dear to my heart. But reading from an article on TransformersWorld2005.com, we're getting a music album for the Beast Wars franchise.
Really?
Like the cartoon series from back in the 90s.
Interesting.
Yeah. So reading from the article on their website, it says, quote, another piece of good news for those that love music from the Transformers universe. The Beast Wars soundtrack will be joining Beast Machines and Generation 1 starting this June. No word yet on a physical release, but it will at least be streaming at your regular players starting on June 28th. And then there was a press release from Hasbro, which they included here, which reads, 40 years, one legacy. Hasbro, a leading toy and game company, is celebrating 40 years of the Transformers franchise with a variety of products, promotions, experiences, and entertainment inspired by the brand's origins. With music playing a key role in the Transformers fan experience, Hasbro is proud to release several new Transformers-inspired music offerings this year. Announced today in the latest addition to the growing stable of Transformers music albums, Hasbro presents the Transformers Beast Wars original soundtrack, available to stream digitally for the first time ever. From June 28th, experience the magic and nostalgia of the 90s Transformers Beast War animated series with 14 tracks off the original soundtrack composed by Robert Buckley. The album continues the momentum from several exciting music-related announcements from the franchise. They will be releasing music from the original animated series. That says fans can jam out to the music from 1984's The Transformers, classic animated series, seasons 1 through 3. Originally released in 2019 with over 45 minutes of music, this reissue album includes bonus tracks and a mixture of remastered orchestral and 80s-inspired synth tracks from the original tapes by composer Rob Walsh. The vinyl album is available for pre-order now, and a first ever digital release of the album will be offered later this year. Then you got the Beast Machines original soundtrack, which says journey back to the cybernetic battlegrounds of Cybertron with the long-awaited release of the original soundtrack to the Transformers Beast Machines animated series, which aired from 1999 through 2001. Crafted by series composer Robert Buckley, this electrifying album matches the same energy that fueled the iconic battles of the late 90s series. Unleashing a wave of nostalgia for fans of the series, this upbeat and dynamic soundtrack promises to reignite the passion, transporting them once more into the heart of the mechanical mayhem that defined an era. Listen to all 11 tracks now wherever you stream music. And then there's lastly JLab Transformers 40th Anniversary Collection. Says, released in honor of the franchise's 40th anniversary, this collection includes the newly released JLab J-Buds Lux ANC headphones, providing an immersive sound and incredible comfort to Transformers fans. It also includes a more compact listening experience with 2024 active noise-canceling true wireless earbuds. So more information, you go to the JLab website, but this is exciting for me because Beast Wars Transformers was the first one I watched growing up. I was aware of the Transformers original series. I caught a couple episodes, dug what I saw, but this was the first one I remember getting up and watching every morning, going to school and talking about it with some of my friends. And the music was never released. I don't think releasing soundtracks was a thing back then, you know, and if it was on cassette tape, but I don't ever remember the soundtrack getting released. So the fact that we're getting the soundtrack released, hey, it's 25 plus years later, but we're still getting it. And I'm excited for this.
Yeah, I know you're amped up. I mean, you've been talking Beast Wars for
a lot of time.
Eons now.
Yeah.
So this is right up your wheelhouse. So, you know, that'll be exciting for you and anybody else that's a fan of the franchise.
Yeah.
So that being said, I got a couple before we get into comic picks this week. Big news breaking out of James Gunn's Superman franchise here. We do have another cast member announced, Beck Bennett. And it was kind of a little mystery about what he was going to be playing.
Yep.
And sure enough, we have confirmation that he's going to be playing Daily Planet reporter Steve Lombard. Great casting. Everybody they've casted for this movie has just been on point.
I would say so, yeah.
There's been no misfires whatsoever. Like, this is looking much in the same vein of Knives Out, like just perfect casting. So when this film is coming out next year, I'm expecting nothing but big things. And this is a great addition to the cast. I say Lombard is a great supporting cast member, so this will be a fun one to see on the live screen for that.
Yeah.
Quickly, 2 points from Marvel before we get going. Both dealing with some comics that are coming out this week.
Okay.
The first one is tying into one of my picks this week. I'll just kind of bury the lead here. X-Men 35. So this is Legacy Uncanny X-Men 700. This is the official farewell to Krakoa. The era is done. From here on out, we go into the fall of From the Ashes storylines. So we're going to have the all-new teams, all-new books. Everything is explained in X-Men 35. It was announced by our good friends over at Marvel, and thank you for sending us the press release, that Marvel Unlimited is launching X-Men From the Ashes Infinity comic. And this will be, it comes out today as we record, June 5th. And this will be the gap book that ties X-Men 35 into July's X-Men #1 by Jed MacKay and Ryan Stegman. So this will be something you want to check out on Marvel Unlimited. It's a great service too. Like I said, the Infinity Comics, you do get a lot of great quality reads. So you should definitely go check it out. And especially for me, I am definitely locked and loaded in on this because there was a lot that went down in X-Men 35. I like I say, it was bittersweet because I do love that era of the X-Men line. I know it's very polarizing amongst fans, but I will say it ends in a very, very interesting way. And to see now how things are set up, I really want to check out how this is all going to bridge into the July release of the new X-Men. So that's going to be huge.
Right.
We also got a new announcement of an Avengers book.
Ooh.
So Captain America is going to be leading a very star-studded lineup of Avengers in a brand new Avengers Assemble series. So this is written by Steve Orlando, and Corey Smith is on the art for issue 1. I believe they have more artists that are going to be filling in for the 5 issues, if I'm reading this correctly. If I'm not, please correct me, #ODPHpod. But it goes like this, quote, inspired by the team he pulled together during Blood Hunt, Avengers Assemble sees Captain America take on a new initiative, recruiting new and classic Avengers for an all-new squad. Cap's team will operate out of Avengers Mansion and take one crisis after another on a globe-trotting superhero missions. Expanding the scope of the current Avengers storyline, Avengers Assemble will offer readers a modern take on the classic Avengers adventures and drama. With a new threat every issue, these fast-paced stories will be jam-packed with action intermixed with exciting team bonding, thoughtful character development, and interpersonal stakes, end quote. So this is one that is really, really going to be making some noise. The team lineup as it stands for issue number 1, looking at the cover, we've got Wonder Man, Hercules, She-Hulk, Photon, Monica Rambeau, Hawkeye, and Shang-Chi with Cap. And then a couple of the bonus ones, Night Thrasher is on the team.
Yo.
So that's taking me back to my New Warriors reading days. I'm excited to see what he's going to bring to the team. Lightning is on the team as well. And also Lightspeed is also mentioned on the team. That is one of the Power Pack kids that gets all the powers, I believe.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've ever checked out a Power Pack book. Just because, hey, that was big when I was growing up, and that was eons ago. That being said, though, I'm excited to check this out. Steve Orlando has really been putting in a lot of great work, and to see what is going to be going on with this art team and just what they're going to be bringing to the table, I'm excited to check it out. Like sounds like a throwback to classic Avengers.
Yeah.
So anytime we can do that, I am all in for. So that is definitely something to keep an eye out for when that drops in September.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have to wait that long to talk comics, Pad. What are you picking up this week at the shops?
This week, picking up Ultimates issue number 1 from Dennis Camp and the folks at Marvel, because, hey, it's the Ultimate Universe. I am fucking all for this. Let's just hope it's better than the Ultimates run from back in the 2000s. The description on this reads, quote, "The Ultimates return to greatness, spinning out of Jonathan Hickman and Stefano Casilli's Ultimate Universe number 1. Rising stars Dennis Camp from Children of the Vault, 20th Century Men, and Juan Frigeri from Invincible Iron Man assemble an all-new team of Ultimates in a series that kicks off the next chapter of the new Ultimate line. 6 months ago, Tony Stark sent Peter Park a radioactive spider to set him back on the course to become Spider-Man. Since then, Iron Lad, Captain America, Doom, Thor, and Sif have begun to do the same for other lost heroes, building a network of superpowered heroes hungry for change. Now they must band together to destroy the Maker's Council and restore freedom and free will to a world ruled from the shadows." Close quote.
I will already guarantee you this.
Okay.
Dennis Camp is an amazing writer.
This is true.
If you have not read 20th Century Men, it's one of the most intense reads I've ever done.
Wow.
So the fact that he's now really diving into Marvel is awesome. Because, like I say, I'm a big fan of 20th Century Men. I loved his Bloodshot.
Right.
His Children of the Vault was very, very good. I know it was very short, but it was. I personally really dug it. I have high expectations for this book, really high ones. So I can't wait to check this out.
Then you've got also Amazing Spider-Man issue number 51 from Zeb Wells, and this one reads, quote, "As if the Green Goblin weren't enough, the Sinister Six has returned too. When it rains, it pours, and this rain is going to put Spider-Man into a world of hurt." Cover of this is absolutely nuts, and of course you do see Spider-Man's face outlined, but you do see Vulture, Doc Ock, Electro, Kraven the Hunter, and Sandman. So yeah, this probably ain't going to go well for him. It usually doesn't when the Sinister Six show up.
No, it definitely doesn't, but I'm interested to see how this all plays out, though.
And then lastly, certainly not least, we got 2 Star Wars books this week, both of which I reviewed for Nerd Initiative. The first of which is Star Wars issue number 47 from Charles Soule. Need I say more? Probably not. But the description of this is, Lando is all in. The trial of Lando Calrissian for treason against the Rebel Alliance comes down to its stunning finale. The evidence is not in Lando's favor, nor is the fact that he's offered a full confession to the crimes of which he is accused. Does he have any cards left to play? Well, if you know Lando, he does. And this issue is a phenomenal read. It definitely another one of the great stories from Charles Soule, so you definitely want to check that out this week, because I know I did. And then lastly, certainly not leastly, you have Star Wars The High Republic, issue number 8 from Kevin Scott. This one reads, "Enter Baron Bulin. Tay Sirik, Lorna D, and Skier on a dangerous mission, Keeve Trennis and the other Jedi helpless to assist. The Nihil's mysterious Minister of Advancement finally revealed, along with his diabolical experiments. Protect the path." This episode is nuts. This episode is very shocking if you've been keeping up with the High Republic stuff in terms of the books and comics. So definitely one you're going to want to check out this week.
Yes, the High Republic is in high demand, as you can see with the Acolyte. So this is the perfect time to jump in on the comics.
Yeah.
So for me, a few of them, but I'll keep it very short and very sweet. Comixology Originals, soon to be in print via Dark Horse Comics, the conclusion of Duck and Cover. So this is Scott Snyder and Rafael Albuquerque's 1950s post-apocalyptic, insanity-filled series where you're survivors of a nuclear blast are really kind of putting everything together to figure out what they can do to survive. And this series has been nothing short of amazing. Like if you're into like Hollywood classic vintage themes, this does tie into a lot. Very strong finale. Really enjoyed what I was picking up on this. So, and I can't wait to get it in print form. I've enjoyed it digitally, and now the fact that it was announced it will be coming out in print, all the better. So definitely make sure to check that out. Also, DC Comics Batman 148.
Ooh.
So this has been the showdown between Batman and Failsafe, the robotic version with his Zarena personality
Yep.
installed in him.
Oh, boy.
So this has been one that's been building up for a while. I love how this ended, too. I really thought this was a great issue. This is something that we've seen since Night Terrors, Bruce Wayne acting very out of character. And it's been explained, like if you've been following the series along, you know why. This really felt like a back to basics, and I loved how it was set up for the ending. This won't be the last we see of Failsafe, I guarantee you that, because he's already been featured on the cover for Absolute Power, which is coming out in July from DC. That is going to be one of the biggest books of the year. So if you want to get in on the backstory of it, definitely make sure you go and check this series out. And then, like I said, this is the conclusion of the current story arc. And then where we're going from here, I have no idea, to be honest with you. I've been trying to piece this together, but I have no clue. That's how good this is.
Yeah, that's always a good thing, though, when you go into a major story like this and you just don't know what the hell's going to happen.
Yeah, like it ends in a very strong place, but it's also, there's two loopholes, and I don't want to get into it on air.
Sure.
I will talk about it off air, or at least give a couple days on to let people go pick up the book.
Sure.
There's two loopholes that I know that are sticking out about this, and I'm expecting them to get a little bit of payoff. I haven't read any solicitations for 149 or 150 or anything after this. I try going in cold about it as best I can. I'm really curious about one character still involved here, but especially with how they were going to bring Failsafe from point A to point B. I'll just put it that way. Like I alluded to with Marvel, though, X-Men 35, Uncanny X-Men 700. It's crazy to think that's here.
Yeah.
Fantastic gatefold cover, wraparound cover, I should say, by Pepe Larraz, I believe. And this was just absolutely just, like I say, the Krakoan era really ties up everything that is great and different about the X-Men. It's another one that, like, I think fans are going to have a certain reaction to.
Right.
Because there's a lot that happens down here. And there's a lot that really, you know, are going to leave fans questioning too.
Sure.
Because this has been something that the entire Krakoan era is very polarizing. And me, I'm a very big fan of it because I like the fact they took chances. The ending books I thought have been very, very well. Like I say, I thought they really tied everything back to what we love about the X-Men. This is a very, very solid epilogue. There is a lot of ends that get tied up and some new ones that are formed, but I'm expecting a lot of feedback about this. This is a monster issue I'm just showing Pad the creator list right here.
Good God.
Yeah. There's a lot of creators involved with this, so I'm not even going to try reading them off, but I will just say this. If you've been reading the Krakoan era, you're definitely going to have some vibes about this. If you want to get in on it, this is a perfect, or to say where we're going now, they do start giving you some ideas of where everybody's heading after this. So if you're an X-Men fan, basically, you need to go pick this up.
Yeah.
And then coming from our good friends at Skybound Entertainment, Scarlet #1. Kelly Thompson, Marco Ferrari bring the adventures of Scarlet to the Energon universe. This is much like in the same vein of Duke and Cobra Commander. Scarlet is now in the spotlight. This issue is nothing short of badass. Top to bottom, great story, phenomenal art. We had the chance to talk with Kelly and Marco this week on the ODPH, which you can hear. The episode is up right now. And definitely excited about what's going on here. It was one of the rare moments I was out of character because I was fanboying, Pad. Doesn't happen often, but I was fanboying out. In fact, the microphone actually fell off the stand when I was talking. That's how amped up I was about it. But trust me when I say this is a book that I highly, highly recommend. And if you're not in the Energon universe, I don't know what you're reading, to be honest with you. Like, they're taking over. Last but certainly not least, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Alpha #1 IDW Publishing. In July, we kick off the new era with Jason Aaron writing.
Okay.
This is the entry into this new era. It's crazy to think we've now had 40 years of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That is wild.
Yeah.
It does not feel that long.
It doesn't. But here we are. This book is split up, though, into two pieces, though.
Okay.
The first is Jason Aaron's writing of where we're going to go with issue number 1. Mm-hmm. So this is it's almost like a prequel for that.
Okay.
Very solid. Really enjoyed it. The second is focusing on a different story that is coming out called Mutant Nation. And they really spend a lot of time building that up, giving readers an entry into it. So if you're not familiar, like I wasn't, I thought they did a very solid job with it. Mm-hmm. And then you do find out about some other things that are coming on the rest of the year. IDW has been putting a lot of work with this, but
sounds like it.
The Jason Aaron TMNT run is one of the most anticipated ones of the year. I am locked and loaded to check out issue number 1. I have not checked it out yet. Maybe I will. Maybe I will very, very soon. We'll have to wait to see. Fingers crossed. But in the meantime, though, this is something to get fans excited about. And like I say, I really, really enjoyed Jason Aaron's story in this one. So a lot of great stuff at the comic shops. If you need more recommendations, nerdinitiative.com has you covered on that. And remember, go support your LCS wherever you're at on a Wednesday and beyond. That all said, for anything and everything that is the ODPH, you can find it at odphpodcast.com. That's it for the entertainment talk this week. So for the one and only Padawan J.
If you want to get into B-Stores, which you absolutely should, you can find all of the episodes on Tubi for free. Don't need an account. Don't need to pay for anything. Because if you look for them physically, it's going to run, I'm showing Ken the listing on Amazon. The complete series is going to run you about $200 because they have not done a release for this franchise since 2011. In terms of DVDs. So anything you find on Amazon or eBay is going to be used, and it's going to be 10 plus years old and run you about $200. So if you want to get into Beast Wars, Tubi or I know Pluto TV.
Fair enough. I'm your host, Ken. Thank you as always for checking out the ODPH podcast. We'll see you next time.